lights. Did we get like new light bulbs or something in here? I don't know, like over here, it just feels so bright.
That light right there shines on like half of
the one right above me.
Yeah, right, you do. Good stuff.
All right, we will begin the City of Indianola Council Study Session for January 16, 2024. This evening, the first item up on the agenda is discussion regarding an ordinance pertaining to fat, oil, grease, fog discharge by food services and establishments. I think Tim and Jared, are you leading this?
Hello, I'm Jared Keenan, wastewater superintendent. We're just going to talk about some fats, oils, and greases ordinance, standard for fog. Go through a little bit of the timeline here. So starting now, we're in a study session, just kind of giving you a little background on the fats, oil, and greases and why it's important to have an ordinance regulating that. We're going to go to February 5th. We want to do a public meeting with the food service establishments and kind of educate them about why it's important and where we're wanting to go with things. Then the first consideration, February 20th, second consideration, March 4th, and then third consideration, March 18th, then publication of ordinance, March 26th. Just a little bit of background on what is fog. You can kind of see in these that little graphic I have there. It's kind of three different things. It's kind of what you think about greases in restaurants, the fats from when they're frying foods and all that stuff when they're washing their dishes. But it also includes dairy products, so like your coffee shops, your ice cream shops, things like that. This will refer to all the generators. So this is food service establishments. You'll see the acronym FSEs. So what happens is they commonly wash these things down the drain when they're doing their dishes and doing things like that. And when it cools, it coagulates and coats the pipe, and then it restricts flow. And that creates blockages also in our sewer system. So not only does it affect their plumbing and their business, but then it goes into the sewer mains and creates blockages and creates issues for other homes and businesses. So some reasons for the fog control program. Obviously public health, sewer backups are not great. They're really messy, they're really stinky, and they do a lot of damage. The environmental concerns, when we have sanitary sewer overflow, it can also go into storm sewer systems, which go to our waterways. And then obviously the financial impact. Sewer backups create a lot of damage and can be very costly. So clearing a blockage, we'll have to use our vac truck. That'll take 2 operators up to 4 hours to clean up a blockage, because it's not just a one spot thing. It can damage multiple lines. So it could actually take more than 2 people to make it go even quicker. With that, we can have a sanitary sewer overflow. So when it leaves our manholes and overspills into the street, where we'll have to bring in sandbagging, we'll have to clear storm sewers, and then we potentially have to call the DNR to let them know what's happened. These 2 pictures that you see on the right, those are actual pictures that have happened with our system. So you can see that top one, it's hard to see with that little fog, but that white stuff, that's the grease. That's that stuff that businesses dump down. That's what we'll see in our manhole. And then that bottom one, there's probably a good 2-3 extra feet until the bottom of that manhole, and that's all just sewer backup. And if that goes without us noticing, it just continues to fill up and then come out of the manhole. So the cost of clearing blockages, with our jet truck, we currently charge $225 an hour to run that during normal operating hours, and then $216 an hour for overtime hours. So what type of facilities this will affect? All commercial and institutional cooking establishments, as well as non-cooking FSCs. Currently we have 56 in Indianola, 16 with no control devices at all. And there's some examples on the right. So it's your normal restaurants, bars, schools. It can go all the way to churches, anything with any preparation operations generally. So sinks and dishwashers and stuff like that. Generally, here's two modes of fog removal. You have grease traps and grease interceptors. The grease traps are under sink or next to the sink. They're a lot more smaller footprint. Good for places that don't have the ability to put in a giant grease interceptor. An interceptor is going to be underground. It's going to have a lot of capacity. It's going to be able to service a very large business, and we'll be able to go longer times without needing maintenance. Some of the enforcement that'll fall on the wastewater department, we would do every 6 months or so inspection of these interceptors, and there's a 25% rule. There's some calculations there that we'll look at. Basically, when that interceptor gets so full and isn't doing its job, catching that fog, then we'll have to have them drain it, suck it out, clean it out, and then potentially we'll have to get it cleaned out more often, and we'll be able to do all that by our inspections. Some of the enforcement, looking at notice of violation without a fine, notice of violation with a fine, civil penalties, submission of compliance plan, an installation of a properly sized exterior grease interceptor, and a cleanup cost for sewer blockages and whatever damages those cause. Looking at some of the fees, for us, the fees, we're going to look at going out, inspecting, sample collections, because there's going to be some sampling that's going to be involved. We got to look at a fog test and how much grease is in there, and they'll have a limit of how much they can put it back into our system. We're looking at $55 a sample, roughly, and then all the documentation that we're going to have to record and maintain. We're going to have a lot of new lab supplies to be able to take those samples, preserve those samples, and send those out. And then fines of noncompliance can be up to $1,000 per occurrence. Any questions?
I just kind of did a Google, the average cost to put in like a grease inceptor versus like a grease trap. Obviously, the grease trap is maybe a smaller business, but like, let's say on Common Ground, maybe they can use a grease trap. I don't know, maybe they have these things. I'm just using them as examples. And then like Brick House is maybe gonna have to have an inceptor because it's a little bit bigger.
Right. So Tim can speak to those a lot better on the prices for those certain things, but there are restrictions on their space. So Brick House having a very small footprint and being able to put an interceptor would be almost impossible. So there are limitations for that and exceptions for us, limitations on their size.
We have any idea how many businesses we're looking at that would need to do? But was that just, I know it said like with no, but are there other businesses that maybe have partial? Like is 16 the impact of this is how many businesses we're gonna need to do something, or is it actually fair?
Right now, we have 56 that we have on record for it. We obviously want to look into that more closely and make sure we have all of them accounted for. But right now, that's our numbers.
A few of them. What was the cost for putting in some type of device?
So Tim can speak to that a little bit better than I can.
Well, I mean, I can't bid for plumbing companies, of course, but the average cost for an outdoor interceptor is gonna, just depends on the situation where they can install it, but an average cost for something like that is probably around 50 grand.
50 grand?
Yep.
I mean, that's gonna be pretty impactful on those.
That could be figured on the high end. However, there's a lot of restaurants here, especially the ones on the square, that can't put an outdoor one in. So we have to allow an indoor hydromechanical grease trap, which is a lot less than $50,000. What's that?
I'm sorry, I'm just going to speak up because I've had experience in other cities where they did this. It's not always 50 grand, but it all depends on the size of the grease trap that's going to be regulated depending on the size of the kitchen. There's various factors. So it can be as low as 5,000. I've seen 15,000 higher end on the 15,000, but I've seen as low as 5,000 on smaller kitchens too. So it's all depends from area to area, but it's all plumbing contractors. So it's not always as high as $50,000.
I can say though that for an outdoor interceptor, I've never seen one cost $5,000. But that's mainly for something that would be on the indoor side.
I mean, I think this is great. We are requiring new businesses to do it, and, as we continue to move along, this is really important. So I appreciate both of your work.
Quick question.
There you go.
So for the businesses here in town, do we expect any of them to actually require one of these large inceptors?
So that's a good question. So this isn't requiring any of the existing ones to comply with this. It's, there's a few different ways that if they were to go unoccupied for a year or change hands, or if they were to do a large plumbing update, then they would have to comply with it. But ones that are not causing any issues would not need to change anything that they're doing.
And then of the existing businesses that would qualify for just the grease trap, are we gonna require them to put in some kind of grease trap for existing businesses?
If they're creating issues or they're putting too much of that fog into the system, then yes, we could.
Couple of questions I have. First of all, are all the 56 that we currently have that have grease traps, are they all compliant?
Unlikely.
Thanks
So,
for your honesty, Tim.
yeah, so what do we do, what do we do in those cases?
It just depends. It's a case by case basis. It depends on their application, what they have for kitchen equipment. If they can get an outdoor one in, we can't necessarily require them to do that unless they do an interior alteration. However, we can say, hey, let's try to figure something out to where we can limit the amount of fog you're putting into our system. And the whole reason for this is because, fats, oils, and grease are obviously detrimental to the city sewer system, and they're illegal to dispose of them according to the UPC code. But when they're existing like this, it makes it difficult.
Right. Another question, do we know of any federal, state, or grant of money available to help businesses do this, like small business things?
I don't know of any, but we're still in the early stages of this, so I'm sure we can
Steve,
get
it's
down
like,
that-
what
take
I was
that road.
looking at. I was just looking that up. It looks like, there's some cities, like Sioux City has one, that it's like $1,500 to help with it, to get them on.
I'm sure there's something out there that we can look into, help these businesses out.
I would suggest we try to do that, but obviously, ratepayers are picking up the cost of these businesses doing what they're doing. And I don't want to run anybody out of business either.
Yeah, no, the whole FOG program too is really driven for new construction. Anything new is definitely gonna have to comply with this. With the existing stuff, it's only gonna be whenever we have an issue, we're gonna look at it and we'll all, Jared and I and the business owner will put our heads together, try to figure out something, like I said, to at least limit the amount of fog as much as we can.
Well, I guess my thought on that side of things would be that you make sure you cover your costs on whatever the fees are or whatever, whether it's billed back to the owner or whatever. And I don't know, if they're putting it in there, they should be responsible for the payment of some of that, not the other ratepayers in the community. That would be my only little 2 cents worth, I think.
How often do we have these blockages?
We have them, I wouldn't say super frequently. Probably the last month, we've had actually 2. That's probably really high for on a yearly average. But we can actually see those effects all the way to our wastewater facility. We don't see it immediately, but we can actually see all that come in about a week later when it gets through all of our systems. So it does affect all the way out there.
Does the grease affect your chemistry?
We didn't see it hit the plant too hard as far as what we saw from our treatment standpoint. It's a very large facility, so to see that huge impact would be, you'd have to have a lot of grease or any chemical to come in, but we didn't see any negative.
Both those issues were in that same spot.
No, they were spread.
I was gonna ask that. So have you identified who is causing?
We have some problem areas that we know that we have a biannual cleaning list that we know of certain problem areas.
I got one more question, guys. So we're talking about doing inspections on these restaurants. Do we have proper staffing? So
That's-
like,
yeah.
When it went through the rental inspections, I think we had to increase our staff. Are we have to do the same here, or do we have enough staff to be able to complete those inspections?
So right now, we're actually up numbers from what we used to be. That's my goal, is to grow our staff to be able to withstand certain programs like this and our new facility that we have now. So yeah, from now into the future, yeah, we're planning on growing to accommodate those.
We had a staffing study done, and we're not to that level where they're fully staffed, but they have more staff than they've had in the past, so they're making progress, but it's.
And they'll just be doing the sampling inspections. I'll be doing all of the installation inspections.
So we will be splitting it between two departments.
So you mentioned that you have certain problem areas. Do you know what restaurants may be causing those?
We can speculate, obviously, which ones are, and now if we got an ordinance, we can go in and say, we need to look at these things more closely and can actually do something about that and hopefully fix those issues.
And when we have those situations, is there any charge? The hourly rate that you gave is just your time?
That's what we charge if we were to go out and do a blockage for like another city or something. Those are kind of what we would charge for those things.
Gotcha.
One thing for all of us to remember that our sewer department is self-sufficient sustaining, so we have to provide fees to cover those. And so if we are having folks that are to a certain extent abusing that, then the fees for everyone goes up. I mean, they have to have enough revenue to run the plant, hire the people, do what they need to do and maintain the sewer, city of Indianola. And so that's something you have to remind yourself that this it's ratepayer, not taxpayer, if that makes any sense. So that's what we got to keep in mind too.
I don't know much about the restaurant business. Are we talking, I've always seen those big grease dumpsters behind the restaurants where they're supposed to be dumping their grease. Is this what we're talking about, is restaurants dumping their actual grease down there, or just from dishwater?
That's two totally different greases.
So it's the kitchen.
So the grease that they have in the dumpster out back is like vegetable oil that they can sell, that they'll make biodiesel from. The grease that we're talking about is when they're washing their dishes and stuff off in three-bay sink, all the stuff they put on the floor, the soap and whatnot, anything that is food related or fats, oils, like even milk, stuff like that. So yeah, it's just not that type of grease that they put in the dumpster out back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for that answer. I didn't know that either.
That grease is clean. This grease is dirty and nasty.
No.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Good to see you guys being here. All right, item number 2 is discussion and direction regarding the spring on-call cleaning program. Everybody loves this program. No, it's time to go out there.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is AP, Public Works Director. The objective of this presentation is to get council direction on our annual cleanup programs that we provide for the city of Indianola. Currently, we provide twice a year cleanup program. During the spring, we collaborate with a solid waste company. In our case, for the last 5 years, it was Waste Management. We have collaborated with them to facilitate the curbside pickup. And then during the spring, we don't allow for appliances or hazardous waste, which is where during the fall, we have collaborated with the city staff and also with the contractor for roll-off containers, facilitating these large and bulky items. But also we have also facilitated during the fall cleanup is the appliances and the hazardous waste, where we partner for the hazardous waste. We have partnered with the Metro Waste Authority. So basically, this is everything in a nutshell where we have provided our resources. In addition to that, we have also advertised for our residents that there are facilities such as South Central Iowa Landfill and Metro Waste where they can go and drop off large bulky items or hazardous waste materials. So in the last 5 years, we had a contract with Waste Management, like I said, and recently, last year, our contract expired. As a result, we advertised and received new bids for facilitating these services for the fall and spring cleanup. As a result, we have received the bids, and I've summarized this in the table, where in the dark brown color, you can see what we had in the last 5 years, and the yellow on the left-hand side, you can see what the new bids are. Unfortunately, we have just received one bid, which is from Waste Management, and the costs have doubled. If you see the last, we paid $21,000. The new costs are as high as $40,000 to as high as $48,000. So what the reason for this request is we have not budgeted for this significant increase in costs. The expenses for this come out of general fund, and we need council direction as far as where do you want us to go, whether to go with this program. We have multiple options, but I just wanted to come and give this what we have received for the prices.
Take it back out to bid and contact it, different BFI and Wigert or anybody else locally too, and
They did.
we just did it, and nobody wanted it.
Only one bid.
And so do we have to sign a 5-year contract in this?
Yes,
Yeah, that's-
which is not part of this, we can bring it back.
That's a little alarming with the costs. Where they're going.
Do we know why it went up so much? Did they say? One of
It-
those don't really want to do it, so here's a big number?
It's generally, costs have gone up significantly for citywide services and
Trucks are double, diesel's double.
Everything
labor.
is, yeah.
And they have an automated insurance.
They're
Tell you what, it's a great program, so I would hate to see the city not do it. I think we need to try to find a way to.
If we don't do it, then
I can't
we
stomach
have the
$40,000.
illegal
so.
dumping.
I mean, do we know how much? Well, I don't know if this is even something to get a like if we know a number, the weight that they took out maybe last year of like items, or it's so hard because I feel like a lot of stuff does get picked up by other people, right? So how much is Waste Management really taking to justify $40,000? Now, I do think that they pick up quite a bit. I'm not saying that they don't.
It's
50 and 28.
definitely a great service, and if we don't have anything, then we end up paying for it in legal fees with code enforcement and everything like that as well. And so we started exploring different ideas of everything from, do we collect at a central site instead of curbside? Do we consolidate fall and spring and just do a spring but still do it curbside? Or do we do it,
Is that
one location
possible
out of the
Combined?
facilities? If we put it all at the brush facility and everybody took their stuff there, it significantly lowers the cost, but we did then raise employee costs and inconvenience to the residents. So there's pros and cons to every possible option. We can think
Well, then
deeper into that.
Difficult for residents who don't have trucks, right? And so
Right,
then
right.
the items still get put on the curb and then Charlie's still getting the calls in his office. And I mean, I know that there's a couch sitting down under mounds of snow
That's what I was just
in our
gonna say.
neighborhood.
Let me ask you, I'm sorry,
No, I'm just wondering, have we seen the cost to consolidate and just do one curbside cleanup? And I did have a conversation with Jay Byers and the town of Gowan. Amy was actually there too. And we did discuss a little bit about rising costs of this and Campus Day in the spring. And they are going to be bringing that back out into the community for community service projects. And they weren't too scared to talk about this, but again, we're looking at pickup trucks and.
so,
But with that, just to answer, circle back, there are plenty of people who can't take care of issues or physically aren't able to. And so if we can put some kind of a coordination program between the town and Gowan
Absolutely.
and this and time it just right, that could be.
And that would fall probably
Fantastic.
around, I don't know when the date is when we're looking. Usually in April, isn't it?
Yeah, April and October.
And that's, I think,
well, I think,
Campus Day is early in April though.
yeah, but we can. So, we do a recycling fee currently, is that correct? Yeah, and so I'm wondering if, I mean, I'm not obviously in favor of raising everything, but if we are gonna provide this as a service, and it really is, it's in a sense, it's kind of recycling too. I don't know, is that something, or is that money specifically dedicated for that particular thing? Can we maybe look at that as a way to collect some of the revenue that needs to be done here?
So the revenue for recycling is basically, we have provided, for all recycling, we have provided another party, which is not Waste Management. In our case, previously it was K3 or H&W was prior to that, where we have all revenue, it was no revenue, it was directly given to that company, so.
Yeah, no, yeah, we have a curbside, we have a recycling fee curbside, right. My thought is,
I think that's just a pass-through. I thought the last time we looked through that, it was, we just did it last year, and it was we didn't raise it, it was a pass-through, it was the exact cost.
right, but my point with that is that something that we add, again, I'm not looking to raise fees, but if this really is, when you look at the cost to staff time, when you look at the cost to the city, but yet also what the residents are asking for, is it something that we could figure out a way to collect that as part of just a recycling curbside fee or whatever, a cleanup day or whatever, but put that as one lump sum and collect the money just enough to cover these kinds of things? I guess that's my question. I don't know if that's possible or not possible.
Like a one-time payment? I mean, it's
No, well, I
raising rates.
know, but I'm saying, let
So
people
like a
pay for it
$10
monthly.
fee per household or?
Well,
So,
it wouldn't be that much, I don't think, but maybe it would be.
So that, you're stepping on something that's actually a really good thought process in that we don't have sole source for garbage here. We have many different, but we do for recycling. And recycling does benefit everybody. And if you took next year's cost, if we were to do this, 39,500, and divide it by the 5,944? 994? 994 residents, that's $6.58. So that's just a little over 50 cents per month on their bill. And then provide that service all the way through. And it's a way to maybe digest this a little bit easier. And
That's where I was coming from.
right, and while we currently do recycling as a flow through, there's not anything to say that a portion of recycling couldn't go to overhead. And overhead really does pay for the same people, so if we offset some of their costs that are now covered by overhead because of recycling, we could reallocate those general fund dollars to, we have the spring cleanup. So that's a way to do it for roughly 50, for the current homes, it would be 55 cents a month. If in each year, we'd need to go up just a little bit based on the number of homes and whatnot, and still be a flow through. That's an option.
Is that 56 cents to cover the full cost, 39,000, or to cover the difference between what we budgeted for and?
That's the full cost. So if you want to look at the incremental, we could take what we're currently budgeting, currently planning, put the difference, and maybe it's 40 cents or 30 cents or something.
It's worth looking at all of that.
Yeah, probably.
What do we have budgeted for this year?
So I think roughly it's around $25,000. I don't have the exact numbers, that's what we have previously paid for. And then we also, overhead cost, I just did a quick math, it's roughly around $10,000 for labor roughly.
Is there any way we can get data from them, like how much they pick up?
And I'm not sure, I get where you're coming from on that, but it's a service that,
Oh, I think it's a great service. I don't.
I understand where you're going. No, I understand, but the tonnage and everything else that they have, I guess, is not as relevant to me as the service that we provide to people that, as Ben said, that really can't get out and do those kinds of things, but yet they have things that they need to get rid of. And I just think that if we can find a way, I think we have to cover our costs. I personally believe that. I don't, things aren't free anymore, and I understand that, but I think we have to cover our costs and let the people that are gonna participate in this, the homes or the residences that we have, 5,400 or however many it is. And I just think that's an option for us, and Ron's got a good point. Maybe we offset, what we have budgeted, and then it's not as much, and it's palatable.
So on the low end, not counting the labor costs, if it's just the incremental difference, we're talking 28 cents per month. On the high end, 55 cents per month. So it's somewhere in between.
That's digestible.
I do. I think it is because of the fact that it's just, there's so many people that use it. And yes, I think probably in my neighborhood, and I'm in the older neighborhood, and there's people put stuff out there all the time. But then there's also the folks that come by and take it too. I get that. But you usually end up with something they got to pick up.
I can tell you from just watching Facebook activity, a large number of people ask about this every single year,
When it
spring
is.
and fall. When is it? And what season do we pick up? Spring?
Spring.
April and
Fall, they're asking why don't they pick up in the fall? So, I mean, this is a service that I don't think we can get rid of. If we do, we're gonna have a lot of people sitting things on their curbs and or dumping it in the country, and then the county's gonna be dealing with it along with all the illegal dumping that they're already dealing with. So I think we're just making more of a problem.
I just quickly opened up my file to see what we have collected in the fall cleanup. We have roughly about 8 to 10 those roll-up dumpsters, which is about 40 cubic yards. So we are talking about roughly 300 to 400 cubic yards of
That's a lot.
appliances or large and bulky items. That's twice. Now we are saying 800 cubic yards or so every year. So it's a pretty popular program that facilitates the cleanup, environmental benefits.
And those are the people who are bringing it to you. So I think the
Fall, they bring it
people
to
who are
you.
setting it out,
Yeah.
probably bring out a lot more.
And I think the data, seeing what they do collect would be good too. One, I just deal with data all the time, but you know, if the cost is going up 2.5 times and they're seeing their volume increase by 2.5 times year over year, you know, and the public then gets upset about, you know, a raise. Hey, this program has been seeing 2.5 times increase in load size, so the cost went up 2 to 2.5 times. That justification is there rather than being like, you know, I'm just gonna try to gauge this off of a room and you know, spend 2.5 times more than what we were spending, and turns out maybe their load capacity's been lower. Well, that's a different conversation then. Even though I don't want it
That's
to
what I'm
go.
wondering. I mean, I put so much stuff out, and we've all heard last year, I was like totally narking myself out for picking illegal stuff up off the curb. We're not supposed to put it out there, but I like stuff off the curb.
You get rid of that for less than the cost of a stamp.
Right, yeah, and
So
I know like our
I
street,
just think it can help us justify.
lots of people will come and they pick it all up and it's all gone before they even get there. So that's why I'm like, how much is really surviving and making it into their trucks? Now, I know stuff is, but just how much is?
And they're trying to peg 5 years out, so, you know, they're, you know,
Can we negotiate that? Can we like?
If we had multiple bids, but we only have one bidder.
I would suggest then that, and if every council is okay with this, is what I would suggest is that we ask staff to come back with a cost where we get that range of 56 cents versus the 28 cents and explain how that goes, get Steve and Stephanie's information on tonnage if we can, and then come back and we can make a decision, and I think that's where we really are.
yeah.
I know we'll have some people that complain about the increase in cost, but at the same time, if we do away with it, we're gonna have a whole lot
Whole
more
lot of-
people.
Yeah, it'll be a lot more
So-
cost to taxpayers.
Yeah,
I would just love that data to be like, this is why. I mean,
I like data.
assuming that the data backs it up, which I'm gonna guess it probably will, because I feel like the curbs are filled up more and more, but
And people, it's also you know, people are in a habit now too, and so if you don't have it, it's gonna be worse, so.
Yeah.
And we haven't set the date yet, right? Correct on this? For the
Yeah, we
week
have
of?
set the date for, I'm just opening up, the April 20th is the spring cleanup.
We though, maybe, could I just say something about that maybe, and maybe if that's already set in stone or not? But Mayor, you were talking about the Simpson cleanup, is that their final
No,
week?
well, Campus Day is April 9th, but we can coordinate with, they have some groups, some service groups that Jay and I were discussing, so we can work on that to get volunteers to help and.
And a lot of people move their stuff out before the 20th, not on the day of the 20th, and so it's the people who need the help getting it out the door.
Yeah.
and all that.
The week of April 20th, you said?
So April 22nd to 26th is what the
Okay.
dates are.
So that actually works pretty well that they would be doing that earlier.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
If I may add, we did not get a bid for appliance drop-off, so we did provide it last year because K3 was facilitating, H&W was providing that but we did not receive a bid for that, so we cannot provide that appliance. It'll be, yes, we can take appliances during the fall cleanup, which will be once a year on a roll-off dumpster, that we will be taking it, but not in the springtime.
Oh, so K3 did not put a bid in this year?
Did you,
His costs have been significantly increased too. I know last year he had to come to us for an increase.
did we ask Ankeny Sanitation?
Who was that?
Ankeny Sanitation? Did we ask them? Bid?
No, I sent it to TRM, Waste Management, and Waste Connections,
Okay.
and then posted it on our website, the Iowa League of Cities site.
Well, the only reason I asked that is because when we cleaned out my aunt's house, when she moved into assisted living, they were the only ones that would provide a full roll-off for me. And so you might check with them and see if they would do that, just FYI.
Yes, Steve, that is finals week. That is finals week. Finals are only Wednesday, Thursday.
But if they set it out the week before, yeah, we're good. Okay. Maybe in the future we can coordinate a little better and see what happens.
Last year it did actually snow on campus day. It was
Yeah.
cold. Terrible.
I'm sorry, what is it that Simpsons?
So campus day used to be, Simpson has, it's one day where there's no classes and there's coordinated efforts where it used to be out in the community where they would go out and they would help clean up yards, they
Oh,
would,
yeah.
clean up the city and stuff like that. And then it got kind of brought back more on campus where they were cleaning up just campus, and now they're gonna bring it back out into the community.
That's great. I remember when they used to go out.
Might not be a bad idea, for Jason's team to kind of start putting a little bit of information out there that if you do you think you're gonna have a need for leaf cleaning or something, or your gutters or whatever, that maybe get that out and we can start getting a list put together. That might be something to do.
Thank you, AP.
Thank you.
All right. Item 3, discussion regarding the upcoming agenda items from within the regular January 16th City Council meeting. One of those items that I thought maybe we could take a few minutes to talk about is committee assignments. Because we will be discussing those. Oh, thanks, Jackie, you were right. I was going to pull it up.
She's ahead of you.
So we would need a Greater Des Moines Convention landfill for 2 positions. Josh Rabe is going to take Warren County Economic Development. I sit on the Warren County Emergency Management. I'm also on the Executive Council, so I don't think I can really give that up, but I do that actually for E911. If somebody wants to take it, I'll pass it along. And then the North and Middle Rivers Watershed Management Authority for an alternate. And then another one that I kind of discussed a little bit with Melissa and Steve is the downtown, this is not an official, is the Indianola Downtown Merchants. They meet twice a month, and I think that it could really help if we could have more representation there. Steve goes sometimes, and I know it's tough with their day schedules, so those make it tough for many of you that work outside. But they really appreciate it when we could be there. So yeah, that's what I got. Anybody want to jump for a Greater Des Moines Convention before we get into the agenda?
What time are the meetings?
You told me 7:30.
Oh, no, that's Mac. That's the one that he graciously, I think he conned me into it somehow.
What's this?
The 7:30 meetings.
That, Steve.
Yeah, that's Steve. It's that
I
Steve.
conned you into what?
I think that's how I got the Mac position, is a 7:30. Don't worry, if I could give that up, I would. It would great.
I'm pretty open to whatever.
Okay,
Yeah, I am too, wherever I can help.
okay. I think the Greater Des Moines Convention, I don't know.
I work, so I'm not as flexible.
I know that makes it really tough for you and Christina.
Clearly not.
The landfill board is really important because we do have 2 votes on that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that one is important. Then they do Zoom option too, correct, Christina?
To Zoom or, well, it's more over the phone, but you can.
If you want to get rid of the Mac, I'll take it back, but you just need to let Emily know that
Oh, no, I'm gonna do it. The other
Well, I do
thing-
have SERPA as well. I have that meeting on Thursday this week, and that's
They take MPO too.
Who's greater than
It's
one?
wheeling and dealing here.
You know, that was metropolitan planning, right? No?
Yeah, we're in the
Oh,
search
Maggie.
of an executive director
All
right
right.
now.
I just can't keep swinging the central.
No, I
Landfill
totally
board.
understand that. I know you've got a lot on your schedule. I think Greater Des Moines, I don't know how often Catch Des Moines meets.
4 p.m.
Yeah, it looks, well, they've got on their website meetings from 2020 and 2021, and it was quarterly at 4 p.m.
Meet downtown. It's like, I work downtown, so.
They generally do meet.
Great.
yeah.
Steve's got it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, like, I mean, I walk by there all the time in the Skywalk, so. You know,
Sounds like a winner chicken
I
dinner.
would assume that they probably do.
One is done.
But it looks
Maybe.
like there's also a Zoom option too.
You opened your mouth.
Now that we-
You did it.
Which one was that?
The Catch Des Moines, Greater Des Moines Convention Center, and I'd like for us to kind of circle back maybe at a future study session to kind of talk about that continuation as well too. South Central Landfill Board, I need 2 people for that one. Christina, when do they usually meet?
It is the third Wednesday,
months.
odd months, yeah. At 11 a.m.
And you can zoom in or not?
It's not really Zoom yet. They're working on getting that capability, but they're still in the process of moving because of the tornado disaster. Getting that new office and buildings all set up. So right now you just, if you can't be there, you can call in and do
Oh,
over
okay.
the phone. And you vote that way too.
They allow that.
Yes. Yep.
I'll do it then.
Okay.
You can call in.
What? Mr. Abe isn't here. I bet he would love to do that one.
Travel.
Oh, Josh, you're on the
I am here.
Busted.
I'm gonna owe you big, but hey, I didn't forget I gave you Warren County Economic Development. Okay, Josh, you have a say in this, I guess, too. Would you like to sit on the landfill board?
Not particularly. What's the watershed one? we have up?
Watershed, we'll put you on watershed.
No, you can put me on landfill as well.
All right, that is-
And then you can tap me out.
That is actually a kind of a newbie position, I feel like anyways, that everybody, the new people get to do that.
The first meeting, well, I mean, if you
You guys
guys.
were right in the tornado, weren't you?
Are we voting on it
We
tonight?
will in the, regular session.
That's what we're talking about,
We
right?
have a meeting tomorrow,
Yeah, it won't make tomorrow's, but
That's what I want.
tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Yeah, and if you can't make it, it's okay. We'll get you the contact information and
it's the
everything.
future.
Okay, so then we've got,
So-
what's after South?
Tomorrow would be a good one to call and actually listen to though.
It's not on here, but the downtown merchants.
Oh, yeah, we don't have that on there.
Also interested in.
Okay. Warren County Economic Development, Josh, see Josh, I didn't forget you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. EMA is myself and Christina, you're the backup, but I don't think you've ever had to come. I don't think I can give it up unless you want to take on the vice chair of EMA as well too. North and Middle Watersheds Management Authority Agreement.
Josh said he'd do that.
Josh is all about it. And then, for the merchants, Melissa has interest, and I talked to Steve
Yeah, I'll do
too.
that.
So if maybe we have 2, they have 2 meetings a month, one in the morning, one in the evening.
I can't do the evening ones, but I can do.
Well, either way,
I can,
You can do the morning, I can do the
there
evening.
you go.
perfect, look at
Perfect.
that. We got a lot done. All right, so, that's it.
Look at us.
Pretty easy, actually. Great. Looks like any other,
Christina, you want to keep the EMA?
yeah. Sure. We're going into budgeting right now on EMA and 911. Exciting times over there. I spent 3 hours there today. And I saw Ben getting cupcakes at 5B. All right, any other questions regarding the upcoming agenda? If not, we will.
I'm gonna comment on item J in the consent
Oh,
agenda in our
okay.
meeting.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
just gonna let you know.
perfect. All right,
Did you want to discuss Wander on Buxton?
Well, I think, I got an email from Ben, said that you guys, what'd you email me on that about the contract? You've looked at it, we've got it back, they accepted it.
So yes, Alyssa provided the contract. We had it reviewed by our legal counsel. We made some red line changes to it based on legal advice coming from the committee as well as requests that I put in as well. Those were reviewed by the attorney. Those were submitted to
Group Creative.
Group Creative. And Group Creative accepted all those changes without concern. And so we feel comfortable with the contract moving forward. It is flow through. We just wanted certain protections in place for the city, and those have now been afforded. So,
And that, we have approved that tonight, and you sign that as, or the mayor signs that, one of the two? Or-
yeah, whenever you approve a contract.
Yeah. Got it. Just the last thing, every week now on Mondays at 10 a.m., I will be on a conference call with the Legislative Policy Committee with the Iowa League of Cities. I think I'll wait till the meeting to give you guys an update of what we found out this week. I sent out to staff, and I think Ben passed it along to Brian and a few others, some of the legislation that's already been pre-written and is going to be pre-filed probably. But I'll cover some of that tonight, but probably what I'll do is try to make sure I copy you guys on those as well. So if you're interested, there's a couple pieces of legislation that we probably need to talk to our legislators about coming down the road here, but nothing really important right now, but there's a few things kind of off in the future here that we need to consider. Anyway.
Councilmember, did you want to ask about the Goodwill tour?
Oh, yes, thank you very much for asking that. The question was, we got back from the Iowa League of Cities on the Goodwill Tour. And what that is essentially we would host it here in Indianola somewhere. And the league would come down and they would provide, and we would invite every city in Warren County to attend. And they can go through two things here. I gotta look at my emails real quickly.
Legislative update.
Legislative update, and also they could talk about league stuff for the cities. My thought is maybe we could incorporate both. They could do a legislative update, and they also can then work on and talk to us about all of the groups about how cities can be involved and how cities can work together to get things done. And I think that's really, to me, that would be the best option if you think that's the way you want to go with that. And if it is, we'll let the league know that, and we'll try to get a date set up here fairly soon, so we don't run out of the legislative session either, so.
I think it would be great.
Okay, is that okay with everybody?
Yeah,
Okay, Josh?
thank you.
Still on there? Not on there, okay.
Yep, sounds good. Steve. Thank you.
All right. Yep. Okay, got your direction then?
12-minute break. We'll come back at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Jackie, for reminding me of that.
Yeah, just kind of
need to gavel it. Okay, I call to order the City of Indianola Council meeting for January 16th, 2024. If we'd please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Would you call the roll?
Councilmember Jones. Present. Rabe.
Here.
Dalby.
Here?
Armstrong.
Here.
Beach.
Here.
Richardson.
Present.
Mayor Erickson.
Moving on to item 3 is, or item 4, I'm sorry, is public comment. We have a couple of forms here this evening. We will ask you to, there'll be a timer on the screen and ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes and to try not to repeat each other. The first one that I have here is Kurt Robertson at 602 South Y Street, Indianola.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm representing a small HOA on South Y Street, Deer Run Knolls Association. And our property is running right up against the commercial property of the Deer Run Knolls development that's happening. There is the latest rendering that was provided online. Sure you can't see this, but we have 4 buildings here. There's 8 residents. We're on the southeast corner of Y Street and 92. There is a proposed road, and I'm going to assume there's an entrance off of South Y Street. A proposed road that's running right up against our property. And our concern is that road really necessary? Is this a public road that's going to be the primary road for all the residential buildings that are being built there? If not, then why do we need this road? And why can't entrances be more developed off of 92? It's my understanding that if this road is built, if there are commercial buildings built, they have to build a sidewalk as well, running east and west on 92. Now, I'm having a hard time. I am older, I recently retired, so I'm not thinking as like I used to. But vision that road and the sidewalk. What kind of a commercial building is going to be built between the proposed road and that sidewalk? Not a lot of green space there to build. But our concern, our HOA, small, we do have some elderly people there, is this road that is proposed running right up against our property. I would just like to ask that you guys take into consideration, we're not against the residences there. That's great, no problem there. The clubhouse, no problem there as well. Our concern is this road. And is this going to be the primary road, again, like I said, heading to these residential areas? If it is, that's going to be a concern. I'm no real estate person, but I can ask my realtor. That would also devalue some of the value of our property if we do go and sell it. If this road is necessary, if it's going to be an access road, does it have to be the whole length as proposed up there? That's all I got. Just take into consideration.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Charlie, when's the planning and zoning meeting on this particular project?
There's nothing scheduled because we don't have any further applications after this at this point.
Okay, but you will be discussing the Deer Run project, is that correct or not?
Not, well, eventually, when the subdivision plat, site plans and stuff come forward, we will, but
Okay.
there's nothing scheduled at this point in the future.
Can we get Mr. Robertson, would you give Charlie your
Yep, we've
email
talked.
address? You got it already?
Charlie and I know, yeah.
Okay,
He's been very, very helpful.
yeah, because the planning and zoning is where you're gonna wanna bring those topics to
I
bear.
did. I did bring it. I also called the developer and I did not get a response.
Okay, but again, be your best advocate, go to the planning and zoning meetings, and if you get a chance, speak there. So that'd be my suggestion, so.
But is there gonna be,
There's nothing scheduled yet, but so on subdivisions and things like that, you're gonna get notifications the same way you got notifications for the PUD, so. But yeah, we don't have any applications after this PUD on this one yet. I would assume that we'll be getting them sooner than later, but nothing scheduled as of yet.
That's where you need to work.
understand.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
We appreciate it.
Yes.
Joe Royer at 2503 West 10th Avenue.
Hi, Joe Royer. Talked to you a few weeks ago, I think, on the Deer Run thing. I'll start off with a thank you first off, and maybe you don't hear a lot of that, I suppose. People come up here, but seems you're listening. I went through your board packet for tonight, and there's a lot in there on the Deer Run PUD. Did notice that the single-family dwellings south of West 10th are considered out of scope. So are the townhomes north of 13th. Those are two big things I think the area wanted out there to be addressed. As I read through the packet though, down in there, it still talks about, and maybe it's just customary to list all possible development types. I don't know, but single family is still listed, even though it's not on the amended map or anything either. So just make sure that wasn't in there for a reason. I don't know if there's a reason it would still be in there, but that's one thing. The other thing I hear a lot from our neighbors is around the traffic study. To me, a study would do exactly that. See what the current traffic patterns are in an area, try to take into account development, number of new cars in the area, what that might look like. But there's a lot of confusion in the community about then, well, so what next? Like, I'm assuming it rolls into some planning activities and things like that. I don't know if that comes to the board, the council here, or does it go to planning and zoning? There's just a lot of confusion on how that kind of gets handled. So, and if there's a place that we could go and share with the community would be great. Those are my two items for tonight. Thank you.
Charlie, would you just like to give a little bit in regards to what he just asked about in
The traffic study?
Traffic study, because
Yeah.
we have to work with the DOT and their authority and.
Yep, so once we do receive the traffic study, that's going to be used in our review process on subdivision site plan and things like that, and making sure that we have those traffic control devices, whatever they may be as necessary, as part of that. But again, it'll probably be part of the next step. I don't know if that traffic study's completed yet or not. We have not received it. We have not reviewed it. But once we get it, we'll review it internally. We may actually even use some of our consultant engineers to kind of help review on that. But again, it's going to play in on the decision layout and everything that comes as part of the subdivision process.
We also use those type of studies to work with Iowa DOT to see if the area warrants a signal light and start the planning process for putting one in, but it's all dependent upon warrant studies, and they are the governing authority.
And government doesn't move quickly.
No, I figured it'd take some time.
Yeah, so, and that's really kind of where we are. But again, hopefully we can keep everybody informed.
Thank you.
Yeah, we definitely hear those concerns on traffic. I feel it too. I've been doing some drive-bys around 5:30.
Yeah.
And it is tough. It is tough to turn into your neighborhoods and stuff like that, so. I feel your pain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jesse mentioned last night that the traffic study would be starting. And so he just gave a little heads up to the residents in the neighborhood meeting last night. If you see a truck parked at a corner for a few hours at a time, it's them doing the traffic study. So
Excuse me, you mentioned that Jesse had a meeting with the neighbor?
it was Green Acres.
Well, with Green Acres, it wasn't anybody else affected?
No,
Did you plan on visiting with others?
it was specifically about their lift station.
I'm aware of that, right?
Yeah,
But is he gonna reach out to other residences that are attached to Deer Run?
Is that something you'd like to do, is maybe once we get more closer?
He mentioned
To the
at the
site planning
planning,
and.
yeah, he mentioned at the Plan and Zoning Committee that he was willing to visit with us talking about that. I've not,
I think maybe once he gets to a site plan and maybe some conceptual drawings, think it's really hard to hear a word, what does a row home look like? What's a townhome look like? But there's all different interpretations of what they look like, and the look of it. So if you would like a developer meeting, we can work with Mr. Peltz and Mr. Rognus on that, and we can get one scheduled.
I tried to call Mr. Peltz and he didn't return my call.
I do know that I believe both of them were on vacation, but don't quote me.
No,
But we certainly on the city, we can work on that for something, once we get closer to that, just so you guys have an idea of what, the real look is gonna be.
We're not against the residents, it's just that road is what
Absolutely.
we are concerned about.
Totally understand that. Okay. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, and then the last one is Doug Westlake at 1311 South R Street.
Hi.
Doug.
Doug Westlake, 1311 South R. We've only lived there about a couple months, found out about a week after we moved down there that this was a possibility of rezoning, so more concerned about the traffic and stuff like that. Now, we live down on the cul-de-sac, so it's not as bad down there. But I went to the zoning committee. I've been to, this is the second city hall, I missed the first one, I'm sorry. But I'm hearing different things. I just wanted a little clarification, maybe Charlie, you could help. How is, if they rezone that whole recreational area, is any of it gonna be left recreational?
Yeah, so the PUD, so they're amending the PUD, and the PUD plan that shows where that residential is the only areas that they're changing. Everything else that's shown in the green areas will maintain the golf course.
It will remain what do you call it?
It's
Recreational.
Yeah, it's, again, there's not a designation for that, but the PUD shows it as a golf course, so it'll stay a golf course. Unless the PUD is amended in the future, but then we have to go through the same process
Through the
again.
whole thing, okay, that's what I wanted to know. So they can't change anything other than what they've shown on the map?
Yes.
Okay, I just want clarification, because that
And
was.
those are
Not
very,
without going through a process.
Yeah, okay.
and those are very early drawings, so they don't even know yet from the standpoint of the topography, what's the word I'm trying to say? The grounds, thank you, I was getting there.
But does,
Or, some things may change in there. They might not be able to get all the units they think in there once they get in.
right, so if something changes, will we have the opportunity to review that before it gets approved?
That'll be in the site planning, the next phase that we're heading into.
Okay.
And that's P and Z, that's where they.
Yeah, I'm just afraid if they rezone it all, he can put anything anywhere he wants, or the future.
But that has to go back
could,
through
or
the
whatever.
PUD process, yeah.
And you'd be held to the map that would be part of this approval.
Okay, appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak this evening?
Thank you. I live at 2406 West 10th
I'm
Avenue.
sorry, could you come up here and give us your name and address so the microphone can hear you?
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
I
okay.
didn't sign up for anything, but.
You're fine.
2406 West 10th. My name's Margie, Margy Watson. Okay, and my concerns are pretty much what he was just asking about. They're not building back behind and down off of R, is that correct?
No,
It's just on 92?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and again, my concern is the traffic. And just the commercial zoning that's going in and, things like that. But thank you very much.
What I would say to us here, as well as to those in the audience, that South K will be in the process of being paved sometime this summer, this construction season. And so there may be some momentary traffic issues because of that being paved, and so keep that in mind.
Right.
But once it's paved, I do believe that will be another outlet for a fair number of people that would normally come up our street and some other places too, so. But just keep that in mind. So there may be some momentary problems with traffic and traffic flow. That would be all I would suggest.
Anybody else? We will move on to item 5 on the consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be pulled from the consent agenda?
I would like Charlie, hopefully he's been warned, just to kind of run through item E if we want to do it before. I don't need to pull it. But if he wants to run through that before we move to a consent agenda, that's fine as well. I think the talk about, is that right?
So you want to pull it, but you don't?
I'm asking, can we just do it, we'll just do it in comments if that's okay, we won't hold it, okay?
No problem.
I want to just mention something as well too, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm just
one-
gonna comment on Jay.
Okay, yep. So can I get a first and second motion? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. And discussion. Ben, would you like to give us a brief rundown and then do
Go
some
to Charlie and let
questions?
Steve and Melissa talk.
Sure, a brief rundown, maybe I'll just immediately start off here with E. E is setting a public hearing for the industrial proposal over by the Pickard Park. Do you want to talk to that one?
Yeah, so after the last council meeting, where there was some discussion on the referral on this one, we did have a conversation with the developer's engineer, gave them a link to the recording just so they could go back and watch and listen. I know that they are working to hopefully address some of the concerns I think that were brought up. See if we can't get some resolution to that. That item was supposed to go to planning and zoning last Tuesday. Obviously, with the winter weather, there was a lot of cancellations and closures, including our planning and zoning commission meeting. So planning and zoning still has not heard this item yet. Typically, we wait to bring these items to council to set the public hearing until after the P and Z has reviewed it. However, with this cancellation, we didn't want to delay the process too much, so we're trying to keep it on schedule with the council. So we're setting the public hearing before planning and zoning even hears this item. So it'd be my recommendation to let P and Z kind of get through their process, bring it back forward to the council, and then have you review it with that recommendation.
And you've already committed staff time to this.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, sorry, Ben mentioned that too. So, yeah, we were ready to, our staff report and our review of everything was done last week on this one, and we were set to present it to planning and zoning last Tuesday.
Any other questions regarding that?
No.
All right. Back Ben.
Item F is some new liquor licenses as well as a pay application for Topwood Concrete for the square reconstruction project. We have third consideration on the rezoning of the industrial area over on Sixth Street. This is the city and county property out there. Third consideration on the Kentucky Bridge project, and third consideration on the Canal Bay project, as well as third consideration on the Deer Run project. So now, Chuck, do you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about Deer Run, being the ward rep and not being on council at the time of the first public hearing. So I just wanted to kind of talk about why I'm voting the way I'm voting, so people know. I want them to know that I've heard them. I appreciate their concerns. They're concerned, they do have valid concerns. I've also heard from people who are in support of it, in the neighborhood, in the ward, outside the ward. And I just think the concerns that I'm hearing are best suited in the site planning phase. I think that's where we can really start digging into the traffic issues. The traffic issues I much appreciate. I live on South N. I see those traffic coming, they go by you and right by us. So I totally understand that. But I want that traffic study. That's kind of like my big one too. So like when you guys are talking about the traffic, yeah, I hear it, I feel it too. I want to see that study. I want to see the site plans so that we can really kind of dig into those to see what concerns do we have after we see that stuff. I don't want you to think that I haven't listened to you at all. I just think the next step is the best place for us to start attacking those concerns. So I appreciate everybody who's come to P and Z, that 5.5 hour meeting. I watched it all too. The council meetings that they've come to, the emails, phone calls. I appreciate all of that. So I would just tell you to stay engaged too. So when we get into those site plans and that traffic study, like, let's have those conversations again, okay? That's what I'm gonna ask of you guys, for me, is let's talk then, and start doing that. So I know I hadn't been able to talk, with the public hearing being in December, so I wanted to let everybody know as that transition happened, I've still very much been hearing you, so, and I appreciate it, so. Thanks.
Very good. Item.
Melissa wants to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I too have been very engaged in it, just because I was on planning and zoning at the time. And I had a lot of reach outs from members or residents in the Deer Run area. I very much heard the concerns, appreciated everyone who engaged in the process. I just want to say that I hear you, I understand the concerns. I think we have a developer who is very much hearing you as well. He's shown that through the changes that he's made thus far. He's interested, as you are, in keeping an 18-hole golf course. And he's expressed that over and over. He's also interested in developing something nice for Indianola. He's held some neighborhood meetings, and you mentioned that you would like one as well. I have no doubt that he will do that in the future. Like I said, he's interested in doing what's best for Indianola, and I appreciate that a lot. If we were to say no to this, we don't know what we would get. And the concerns that I have heard against it will all be fleshed out in the planning and zoning phase of site plans. And so that's my, I guess, reasoning for allowing the PUD at this time.
Will we be informed of these meetings of the site plans?
Yes.
Is that from the postcards that will be sent out to
Yep.
everybody affected? Okay.
And if you've got,
You're saying yes.
Charlie has your emails too.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this. So site plans, we don't notify, but on the subdivision process, we do. And again, I think that's kind of what everybody's talking about here. The subdivision process is going to be the most important. The site plan really is just kind of, once we get the land divided up and we get the roads placed and all that stuff, the site plan is just the vertical infrastructure at that point.
But the agendas are placed out on the city website.
Yep.
So you can certainly go out to this website and view their agenda every other week.
Yeah, if you want information on how to sign up for that, I can get that to you.
You can sign up for text notifications on the agendas that come out. And I would just encourage you to stay engaged in the process.
I'm retired, I don't want to do emails. But I will this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
But we really
Thank
like
you.
having visitors here.
Yeah. We like seeing you here, so thank you for being.
Stay, just kind of hang out.
My wife might like that, yeah.
All right, Ben.
So item K is the contract with Group Creative we talked about during the study session. That's for the Town Pride, Water and Buxton project. The strategic plan that the council's been working on with its council retreats. I'll talk a little bit about that during my report. But that sets the new tone and plan for the city going forward. Approval of urban revitalization designations as well as salary changes.
Any other discussion? Jackie?
Councilmember Richardson?
Aye.
Jones? Aye. Ray?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Moving on to council reports. Item A is receive and file the December 2023 Treasurer's Report. I need a first and second motion.
So moved.
Second.
I would say that I'd ask Jackie about the percentages. Those are only on a monthly basis. I got a little ahead of myself, so I'm guessing second time around here, we get the treasurer's report. That'll be, the percentages will be part of that as well.
Unfortunately, Doug cannot be here with us this evening. Any discussion then, or other questions maybe Ben can answer? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. And B is council committee representatives, which we discussed earlier. So, Jackie, I think I did write these down. We have on here for E911 would be myself. Greater Des Moines Convention is Steve. Landfill is Steve and Melissa. Warren County
I
Economic.
think you need to say Steve R. or Steve A.
Steve A.
Old guy, one of the two, yeah.
Steve A. Is on landfill with Melissa. Warren County Economic Development with Josh Rabe, and then Warren County EMA is myself, the Watershed, Josh Rabe, and then the Merchant, Steve R., and Melissa Jones.
CERTA, Central Iowa Regional Transportation.
So we
Yeah.
did a resolution at the end of the month,
Yeah.
or into December for MPO, and Mac is myself, and then CERTA is Steve Richardson. Okay, and then Steve, I believe you have a.
Yeah, I have an update then on legislation from Legislative Policy Committee from the Iowa League. There is a bill draft in place. I did talk to the chief of police today about that on civil service, and Chief Chi, I apologize for not talking to you about that as well. It's a bill draft out there, but we just want to keep our eyes on it, and so keep that kind of in the back of your mind as well. Senate File 550 is a bill that's been filed, pre-filed. It's on sales taxes. They talked about they weren't going to maybe do that again this year, but that bill is starting the process again. There's some discussion about local option sales tax. It's very preliminary right now, but that's one we're going to have to keep our eyes on as well. Talked to Chief Scheer about Senate File 270, which is changing some penalties for accessories to murder after the fact. Gives prosecutors some more tools in cold cases. We don't have any cold cases here in Indianola, so not really going to apply, but again, it's something that is kind of important for cities to look at. There's stormwater legislation is out there. It's in Legislative Service Agency. There's probably going to be something coming down about stormwater legislation, so I'm going to guess you folks in Public Works are going to have to take a look at that, and also maybe with wastewater too. Senate Study Bill 3016 would prohibit traffic cameras by cities. That strengthens the hands of law for mostly traffic violations, speeding, stoplights, those kinds of things. It would prohibit that in cities. Again, it comes down to a home rule situation in a lot of cases. You may be against that or for it, but it is something that further diminishes home rule. Senate File 2037 prohibits cities from regulating certain mental health and human services, group homes and residential areas. Might be one of those things that kind of gets tagged into that. So Charlie, that's probably something we're gonna have to kind of keep an eye on as well. Senate Study Bill 3040 prohibits cities from regulating certain residential building materials. Charlie, have you looked at that at all?
Yep, that was in there last year too, and it failed, so.
Okay, but it's back again, so. Senate Study Bill 3026 and House Study Bill 545 on false reporting and swatting. I did get and sent that to Chief Scheer, and he's probably going to be on top of that as well. But those are some of the preliminary things that are out there right now. League's going to keep an eye on it, and then if we do that tour that we're wanting to do with the league, that they'd be able to come down and talk more about those kinds of things too. That's my report.
Item 7 is mayor's report. Just a quick little update for E911 and EMA. We're in the budgeting process. We have public hearings coming up for that. We are currently actively recruiting for a new emergency management agency representative for a person for that position due to retirement. Troy Bass is retiring after 27 years in the county. MPO, another committee I sit on, we are currently hiring an executive director. Mayor's Youth Council has set Bike Fest for Saturday, June 8th at the Indianola football field from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'll send you an email. I was like, you're probably looking at me like you didn't even verify that yet. And then last week had the Town and Gown committee with Simpson, and we got some really great ideas that we're hoping to implement and continue to work on our relationship building. And then we have the annual chamber banquet this Friday. And I think Chief Scheer and his wife are coming now. That's what he said earlier, so. Now our chamber president has that on the record.
Yeah.
So.
You wear tux.
Sounds like I've been voluntold.
Voluntold?
People wear denim too, it's like fancy denim, so.
Chic denim.
Chic denim, yes. I still don't know what chic denim means, but we'll figure it out.
She posted a picture today, so you could.
Oh, great, all right.
Yeah, there were lots of questions.
Sorry to throw you under the bus there. And then moving on, I have a proclamation for Human Trafficking Prevention and Awareness Month. Whereas human trafficking is the use of force, fraud, or coercion to compel a person into commercial sex acts or labor services against their will. Exploitation of a minor for commercial sex is human trafficking, regardless of whether any form of force, fraud, or coercion was used. And whereas one of the world's fastest growing crimes is the buying and selling of people, whose growth has been accelerated in recent years due to the increase in other social injustices such as abuse, domestic violence, racism, and more. Communities in rural Iowa are seeing a significant increase in the number of children victimized by labor trafficking, and especially children coming to the United States from Central America. And whereas there's a large disparity between the number of persons victimized by this horrific crime and the number of persons prosecuted as offenders, with more than 661 victims receiving services in Iowa's direct service program in 2022, and only 3 individuals being convicted in Iowa federal courts for human trafficking, and 4 in state appellate courts. And whereas, even though awareness of this crime is growing, human trafficking continues to be missed and go vastly unreported. And whereas every business, community organization, faith community, family, and individual can make a difference by working to protect the vulnerable within the spheres of influence. By addressing the problem of internet sex trafficking, choosing products that are not made by forced labor, and by becoming more aware of the problem and possible solutions. And whereas the City of Indianola joins Chains Interrupted and their dedication to providing community outreach and education, legislative advocacy, training, promotion of services to survivors of human trafficking, and collaboration with law enforcement. Now, therefore, I, Stephanie Erickson, Mayor of Indianola, Iowa, do hereby proclaim the month of January as Human Trafficking Prevention and Awareness Month, and encourage all of our citizens to become more informed on the growing problem, to be vigilant and report suspicious activities, and to work towards solutions to end human trafficking in all of its forms in our community. And Jackie has some numbers up there. Everyone who needs help or would like to pass those along. One more thing that I forgot to give in my report is, are you here from Chains Interrupted? All right, great, thank you.
I am Lenchen Rayside. I'm the co-founder and board chair of Chains Interrupted. And sadly, what I have to tell you is that human sex trafficking and labor trafficking takes place in small town Indianola, takes place in small town Iowa. And so I so appreciate the proclamation, and that you're willing to do something about it. If you would like to invite us to come speak to any of your clubs, schools, we have 18 presentations. We are in to win. I mean, this is a real problem in the state of Iowa because of interstates, because of the methods traffickers use to get their victims. Most of us think about trafficking, human sex trafficking, as a movie Taken or The Sound of Freedom. But there are actually 5 major methods that traffickers use to get their victims. And there are children in our schools who go to school every day and they are being trafficked by parents, a boyfriend. And so what I so appreciate about what you did today and who you are is that we want to inform you. We have presentations, hotel, motel, schools, financial institutions. We train law enforcement, airport security. And it's people just like you who are saving lives. Because once you hear our presentation, kind of like the whole, if you see something, say something, right? Once you know what to look for, I had a 70-year-old farmer who was in a town of 300. He went to the, let's say, local Casey's. I don't think it was the Casey's. And he knew what to look for, and he saw a girl that was apparently drugged and with a guy that she didn't belong with. And that farmer in small town Iowa, I don't recommend this, He punched out the guy and sat on him until the police came. We do not train for that. But he saved.
What a hero.
He saved two 14-year-old girls who were drugged and being trafficked across the country because he knew what to look for. And we've done airport training. We had a police officer at Eastern Iowa Airport. He's jumping up and down. 10 days after he got the training from us, he kept a physically and mentally handicapped girl, minor, from getting on a plane with a trafficker. That police officer literally saved her life. And so, thank you.
Thank you for all your work.
Yeah,
And if you stay around, I'll give you a copy of this too.
all right. Thank you.
We're almost done too, so you don't have
I'm
to
sorry,
stay long.
I took too long, but
No,
we are
we-
so passionate
we
about
appreciate
helping our kids.
Thank you.
And both Teresa and I, we're co-founders, we both got the governor's award, we're working with the Secretary of State, so we're like legitimate organization. But, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So one thing I did forget to mention, I don't know how I forgot to mention these guys, but huge thank you to our streets crew. I'll let Ben take all that thank you too, but they worked really hard and got beat up pretty bad by, some people that were upset, but we had just as many people who were very happy, so if not more. So I want to thank them for their hard work. That was a lot of snow in a quick amount of time.
Absolutely. Our streets crew have done a fantastic job, but not only that, the other departments, the parks crew, they also take care of the snow. But there were times when the sewer department jumped right in and there was an issue somewhere. Send an email out, don't worry about it, the streets will, or the sewer department will take care of it. We went out and consider it done. And so it was all hands on deck and they did a fantastic job. Likewise, our public safety, we got a lot of dignitaries coming through recently for some reason, and our police department did a fantastic job as well. And so a lot of good work and a lot of emergency response from our fire as well, with all of the dangerous roads. So great time for our city staff. But I'm gonna ask to switch screens really quick. And maybe while that's going on, I just want to give an update really quick. Norwalk has been looking quite extensively at our dispatch work. They're very interested in supporting it now. They're going to be passing a resolution of support. We are going to be working with them to have an ex officio member on this board so that they can have a part in trying to make it a great organization, and hopefully we lower them back into being part of Warren County Dispatch with Warren County. But the big thing I really wanted to report on this week was yesterday's event. We had a great all-employee, well, I say all-employee, we couldn't possibly fit all of them are employees. If you count all the hundreds of part-timers and seasonal and everything else. We have over 240 employees. We had nearly 80 here that came, most of the full-timers. One group that couldn't be there was the streets because they had been cleaning the square all night. So we did miss them, but it was a great opportunity to work with the staff and get engaged with them, give them some insight into the why of what we're doing. And the big aspect of that is, one, there was a lot of change coming, so we talked a little bit about dealing with change. We talked about the new strategic plan that the council has been working on and was approved this evening. The one thing I wanted you to notice about this slide was how good the three new council members look with the professional photography that was done.
Thanks, Ben. Way to make my picture just a little bit bigger.
I am putting the gauntlet down for our four elected leaders that need a better picture to come in, and we will work with you. Jackie, if you could work with them, or is it Cassandra that?
Actually, Tim McConnell takes the pictures.
Ron's got a
Go
beard now,
and
so.
get a new picture.
Yeah, Ron, you look like a baby there.
I tried to get
So you
Stephanie
want-
to go with
Oh,
me.
you did.
You want all of us a new picture?
I'd love to have all the pictures, but we don't actually have one of the mayor, so we would like to get one because we have a hole
put
over
that-
there on the wall that we want to cover. We would love to have a picture of our
As
mayor.
long as I could have the old
Ben, I
pictures so
tried.
I can hide them places.
What's that?
I tried to take her with me.
She did. She called me.
Well, now, it's a challenge, like it's.
If it's a the contest, I'll get it done.
Sure, we have the ice bucket down there.
She wants a reward.
So, but it was a good opportunity to talk about the old strategic plan, but mostly the new strategic plan and the 4 higher level priorities that the council wants us to work on, to be our home, welcoming hometown, to invite people in, not just residential, but commercial and industrial as well, and what makes a great town, a good hometown feel, and that's what we're really looking at. To create a thriving hub of economic development and innovation for our community. To be a resource, to make sure that we're using the precious resources, the taxpayer dollars that are given to us wisely, and that we treat each dollar as sacred, and that we protect and promote the health and safety of our community. Those are the 4 main pillars that the council's outlaid for us to work on, and it's great now to have individual departments aligning their tactical plans and their operational daily plans behind the vision that the council is setting forth, and that we know where we're going. So we appreciate your involvement. I'm going to show only one of the many videos that I shared.
John F. Kennedy visiting NASA back in 1962. And this is a reference to employee engagement, because as he was going on his tour at NASA, NASA was the organization that was going to meet his mission. Their mission was to go to the moon. Okay? And he was going through the building, and as he's being toured through the building, he sees a janitor up. And so he stops and he asks the janitor what he was doing. And the janitor actually looked at him and said, "I'm building equipment on the That's a line from the top down, from the President of the United States to a House official, all the way down to the janitor who building the NASA. They all wanting to get in and make it. That's a line.
And that's what we're really working towards, to having alignment, making sure that we're staying focused on the things that deliver the quality of life that the community of Indianola deserves, and making life better. We talked about a leadership reorganization and trying to align those things because we want to build it on a strong foundation of public safety with a very good, strong balance between the essential services we provide, the economic development and prosperity that we work towards, and as providing those things enable us to provide a good quality of life for our residents through the events and parks and recreation and all the different services from library to the IWC. That realignment is now changed some positions within our city. Jackie is our assistant to the city manager now and going to be helping to keep me organized and really running the ship when I'm out about giving presentations and whatnot. Charlie is our deputy city manager. Whenever I'm out of town as a deputy city manager, you really are the city manager in charge of taking care of things. But we have now functional areas, logical groupings, so that it's not a span of control of 15, but we have logical groupings of all of our operations in the field from day to day, from all of our internal service offering, and how do we support our frontline workers to ensure that we're giving them the tools and resources that they need so they can do their jobs. Our fire and our police already have their large organizations that help enable and take care of the city, but then trying to take care of all of the quality of life initiatives under a new culture and recreation division, if you will, a functional area. So some great things happening there with Jason Holder being our new Chief of Innovation and Internal Services, Doug Byland being our new Chief of Culture and Recreation. Of course, we have our police chief and our fire chiefs as well, and then our new deputy city manager and assistant city manager. So a nice well-rounded structure to make sure that we are taking forth your initiatives and putting it into day-to-day operations to support our community. They took a few pictures throughout, and not the greatest pictures in the world, but whenever I'm in there, but the rest of them came out pretty good, and I appreciate it.
Britain's photos, you're publicly knocking my photos right now.
I feel like this is a hostile work environment here.
Right? What you took a picture of maybe was the most attractive.
Morse code's pretty fly though. Pretty good.
But we went through the results of an employee satisfaction survey. I'm not going to go through all of them right here, but I did want to share just a couple overall as far as employees are concerned. We've made a lot of changes already since April when this was taken. So we have new leadership in our sewer department, new leadership in our streets department, but extremely satisfied, very satisfied, and satisfied. To add those together, we have a really good satisfaction of our employees, but this is the baseline and how we can take it to the next level going forward. Do they see a clear alignment between the city goals and objectives? I think they answered it as if they did have a good alignment, but I think after the meeting, they have an even better alignment to know where they're going. And now we're gonna take it to the next step with each department providing their alignment on the tasks that they want to accomplish to help support the overall goal and mission of the organization. And then how does your department, what kind of support do you need from the city council? And, there's some clear things. One, they want clear understanding, communication and collaboration between the council and how they can best support you. They want to serve and they want to do a good job and serve the community, and you are the community's representatives. But they need facilities and infrastructure to do that. That's the next biggest one. So having facilities that meet their needs is very important as well. And just having sufficient support and resources, and there was a whole myriad of other items that kind of came up with direction and guidance. But when talking to them about what keeps them here? Why do you stay as part of our community and especially as part of our employee base? And yes, pay and benefits is important. We all have to take care of our families and our personal needs. And retirement is very important to our staff, making sure that they're set up for the future. But a big part of it was the people that they work with and the leadership and the support that they get, the community that they serve. They enjoy the work that they're doing. They're challenged by that. The proximity to home. We have a lot of employees that are part of or in the surrounding areas to our community. A lot of them like and love their job. That was said over and over again. Growth and new opportunities and challenges in having the opportunity to take on new tasks, new experiences. But more than anything, it's making a difference. And our employees, that really probably speaks to them more than anything, making a difference in the place that they serve. We talked about everything. We had a cancellation of one of our keynote speakers, and so we talked about the dog poop initiative, which is a great story about when we come along with things that maybe aren't in our job description, but really everything's our job, serving the community. And we had our storyteller at the library come and read the book to us. So we had story time for our staff, and that was a lot of fun. He did a fantastic job. Jason did an exceptional job starting off his presentation on cybersecurity in a very monotone and dry way, and then all of a sudden it turned into Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And it turned it into a game show and made it very lively and entertaining for the staff to learn cybersecurity and some important facts of why it's so important that we protect the integrity of our data here at the city. Did some customer service training. Sue Wilson came in and did some training on de-escalation. A lot of us are in the front trenches and dealing with very irate people. And usually we're dealing with people in their worst moment, but they're good people. They're people that we want to serve in our community. And so helping them to come back down to a reasonable area where we can communicate, interact, and work, that was really important training that we had as well. So she was able to provide that for us. We talked about new facility updates and some of the progress we've been making. We've had over 30 presentations of the presentation I've given to the county and everybody else, chambers and rotaries and whatnot, Lions clubs, and talking about the need for a new facility, and of course talked about the acquisition of the Regions Bank building that would be a temporary site for our city hall, formation of a staff-driven key stakeholder group that we've been meeting to try to address the needs of City Hall. Staff renderings that I'll share really quick that Jason has taken some of the ideas that were in crayon form and put it into a little bit more structure that we can give to our architects. As far as contract for design with OPM that the council just went in and signed. Survey work with Snyder, they went out and did surveys out on the square to get all the locations of everything. We're now going to have core samples of the soils out there as well, so you'll see that in the weeks ahead. Talked about funding discussions and the need to bring on a construction manager. Jason's kind of taken some of these ideas and put it into a much better looking format of what our city hall potentially could look like, with the fire department bays facing Salem Street, the plaza area behind that would be leading from City Hall to the County Justice Center, and the police on the far side, on the north side along Ashland. This is the basement level. We pretty much need to build the entire fire department isolated as its own building so that we can then take the fire department, move it over, and then demo the city hall when we get to that point. And so then we'll build the rest of City Hall, and so some of the exterior walls will become interior walls, and talked about that for some shared common spaces on the main floor, police department on the main floor, as well, and parking garage under there. This is, actually, that was the basement. This is the main floor with fire on one side, police on the other, and public area, gathering space in the middle. And that leads to the upper floor where we would have our council chambers, our fire department would have their residential quarters up there, community development administration upstairs as well. So some great things there. Next steps in the overall city hall is really needs assessment on all the different departments and updating that to make sure that we're building it sufficiently for today's needs, but also for our future needs. Getting that construction manager on board, working through the funding process, completing the design and then construction. And currently, because we do need to relocate staff, we're working to upgrade the Regions Bank building, temporary relocation of City Hall to the Regions Bank building, and assisting Regions Bank with relocation and new site so that they can stay a vital part of our community. We did a little bit of a reflections on the day, and that called it a day, just making life better. So I just appreciate the staff and all that they do each and every day to serve our community so well. A lot of times they go underappreciated, but they do great. So that's my report.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
I have a couple of items real quickly if I can. Okay.
We'll let you go. All right, Brian, I tried.
Yeah, I know, we're trying to get out of here, I get it. The National League of Cities will have a DC trip organization sometime in March. Jackie, if you wouldn't mind maybe pulling up that information off the National League website and sending it out to everybody on what the dates are on that, if anybody wants to go to that. I probably won't go because I went to Atlanta, but if somebody is interested, then that's something maybe we should talk about. And I'm also going to bring up at this point in time then too, the partnership trip for the DC thing. We maybe get the dates on that if that's already been set. I don't know if it has or not. I don't think it has. It's usually in May. Ron and I went last year. I would go again, but I think somebody else, if they got a chance to go, it'd be great to go. And I don't know, Ron, if you got any comments on that or not. But
It was a fantastic trip, not only to talk to your federal legislative members, but it's a great way to build relationships from other communities as well. So definitely worthwhile.
So I think as soon as we can get those dates, if we can get some people maybe thinking about it. It does take time off. We left on a Wednesday, you came back on Friday, right? I mean, you don't have time to do much, that's for sure, on your own.
Carried state tracks. I think that's why it's always hard for me.
Yeah, it might have been.
I think it was state track last year. And
I think maybe they moved it back. I mean, your state track gets moved back every so often too. But just anyway, those are the things I just want to bring up. And then, are we getting some people responding to CM at Risk thing?
We still need to get that advertised.
Okay, I get it advertised, okay. That's all I have.
So motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5 minutes to get to the game.
Close.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, Josh. Sorry I tried to put you on the landfill.
I heard